Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Uncle Matt here for our usual Friday night live stream, jumping in as we always do this time of the week. A lot to talk about. There is a whole ton of stuff going on this weekend, and that are all falls into the interest level of the things that I typically talk about here on the channel. So I guess we'll start with the big thing, the kind of thing that we talk about a lot on the channel, and that's Nashville SC taking on Charlotte. They come to Geodis Park Saturday night, tomorrow night. Should be there. I should be there in attendance. There could be a complication. I don't know. We'll see. I'm planning to be there. Let's just put it that way. Although there are aquatic reasons that may prevent me from being there, but we'll see. So coming to town makes a lot of sense. It's a good time for Charlotte to be coming into town. You know, Nashville SC needs a win, needs to kind of have a get-right game. What are you doing over there? Oh, he's over in the corner being weird. I don't know what he's doing. Anyway, Nashville SC is due for a get-right game. They're due for a team like Charlotte coming into town, but I'm not weirdly that confident in the match just because I feel like Nashville SC follows the trend of the Tennessee Titans and plays down to their competition more often than not. We've had bad results this season against Chicago, bad results this season against DC United, bad results this season against my guy Richard Greenberg's Toronto FC. We tend to rise up for the occasion. So Miami midweek, go down there shorthanded, a lot of injuries, and somehow rise up and fight our way to a 0-0 draw. I could talk for a long time about my thoughts on that match, but I shared it mostly in the live stream. I will say, I did a watch along for the match before the match started. I was very critical of Brian Anunga. I basically said Brian Anunga is going to cost us this match. We're going to lose this match because Brian Anunga is in the starting lineup. Because I think he's been pretty terrible all season long, but he was, borderline brilliant in the match against Miami. And I think it was kind of the perfect setup for him to come into the team, for him to play in that match, because you want him to have structure around him. So the fact that we were pretty much playing 100% defense in that match, it was a good setup for him. Whereas opposed to where if other teams are coming in and giving us the ball too much, he has to do too many passes, he has to find too many lanes to cut off. It's a little more difficult. But if it's just keep your shape, keep compact, he's able to do it. So he had a great game. Thought Elliot Panicco had a great game again. It's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward with Panicco versus Joe Willis in terms of who's going to start. Joe's been a stalwart, a pillar of the team since day one, but Panicco's certainly been very good recently, with the League's Cup performances and now, clean sheet down in Fort Lauderdale. I think Gary's got to give some consideration to who's going to be the number one moving forward. I don't know that he's fully going to be ready to switch from Joe, but long-term, giving him some spot starts, long-term future goalkeeper. Is that possible for Elliott? Certainly, yeah. Certainly, I think that's something we could potentially see going forward. Well, time will tell. We'll see tomorrow night because obviously there's a lot of question marks with the lineup tomorrow night. Obviously, Joe Willis apparently missed the match midweek with foot issue. So do we stick with Elliott after his good performances? Is Joe healed up enough to where, Gary decides to go back to him? Obviously, we've got Surridge missed the midweek match with a knee injury. Zimmerman has some type of foot ankle issue, wear and tear that Gary basically said is just he's played too many matches this year. Does he come back in? Leal popped up on the injury report again. Shock of all shocks. I talked about it on the live stream Wednesday, the watch along. Insanity that Costa Rica, after 2 years, just now for the first time in 2 years, called Randall Leal in based on what? He's looked okay when he's played, but he basically comes into the team for a match or two, gets hurt again, and is out for a month. So he's been back in since the League's Cup final, back on the injury report, which, rarely does somebody randomly pop up on the injury report the day before a match and then play in that match. So I would expect Leal's back out injured again. Wouldn't be surprised at all if he ends up missing out on the chance to go represent Costa Rica, which sucks for him because I would certainly like him to have the opportunity to get back into the mix with Costa Rica and represent his national team more, but it certainly sounds like he might be missing out based on another injury, which just, I feel bad for him. It's like when he's been healthy, when he's been able to get a string of games together, he's been, just below, Hani. He doesn't score the goals Hani does, but in terms of like creative playmaking, in terms of attacking ability, he's definitely, prior to the arrival of Sam Surridge, he was clearly our second best player, but he just can't seem to stay fit, can't seem to keep himself on the pitch, which, sucks for him. So that's another thing that concerns me about the match tomorrow. Like everybody's like kind of like think already being like, oh, survived the Miami match and now we get to play Charlotte. And I'm kind of like, we don't play well in these situations. We got a lot of injuries. We tend to play down to our opponent. Crazily enough, we just lost 4-0 to Atlanta last weekend. Worst loss in team history. Previous to that, the worst loss in team history was a 4-1 beat down at the hands of Charlotte. So like the two teams that have now beat us the worst, we play them in like back-to-back weeks, essentially weekends with a little Miami sandwich in between. But that was at Charlotte. It was a weird game, so you wouldn't expect that to happen again. But I don't hesitate to think that the Charlotte team can come in here and get a result, against us, especially if we're continue to be shorthanded, like it seems like we might be. So concerned for that game, but we should be there. We should have a game day vlog from that. So stay tuned for that. I don't even know what to think. I would think that's a match Nashville SC should be able to win, but like I said, it is kind of a crapshoot at this point in time. Other big soccer thing this weekend, at least for me personally, this is my channel, so I'm only going to talk about things that are important to me. Manchester United plays Arsenal Sunday. Big match early in the season. United have certainly not looked their best, but I mean, if you go back to last year, it seems like, I don't know if it's a Ten Hag thing, I don't know if it's a still kind of getting players integrated thing, but last year United got smashed their first two games of the season, so to now be like, 2 wins and a loss, we're in a better start than we were last season. So I don't know, flurry of transfer activity for United today, getting in Sofia Rabat. I probably mispronounced that all to heck. The Fiorentina midfielder, Moroccan player who was a star of the World Cup last summer. Seemed like he was like a much higher priority, much higher on a lot of people's transfer list, back in January, and maybe that's trailed off a little bit. But United managed to secure a late loan with option to buy deal for him to bring him in. I don't know if he's a player that like dynamically changes Manchester United, but he definitely, midfield is definitely an area we needed some more options, especially with now Mason Mount being hurt 2 games into the season. So it gives us another body, another option. I think he's good on the ball. I think he's a good passer. Kind of still think the best option United could have gone for in the transfer window would have been a 8/6 type player, a player who could play alongside Casemiro, but also sub for Casemiro if Casemiro needed a match off or has a 3-game suspension for red cards. And we, right now, the only player in the squad who really fits that bill and is just a major drop off from Casemiro is Scott McTominay. So, I mean, that's not great to have not addressed that. Rasmus Højlund, the striker we brought in from Atalanta, the striker from Denmark, he's supposed to be fit. Ten Hag said he's potentially able to start versus Arsenal. I don't know if he throws him right into the fire that quickly, though. I could definitely see it being another Anthony Martial, Anthony Rashford front 3, or even bringing Garnacho back in and moving Rashford back to the center. I don't know. I don't have high hopes for this because Arsenal seems to be like, I feel like they're 1 year ahead of United in their redevelopment plan. Arteta came in 2 years ago, slowly has been bringing in the players that are important, slowly have been bringing in key players. Brought in Declan Rice this offseason, brought in Jurriën Timber, who unfortunately is out now injured. But, I feel like they're a year ahead of United in terms of the, really fully rebuilding the squad, not just like bringing in flashy names and signing, big marquee players, which was the problem with United for so many years under Ed Woodward. To actually build a squad, build a team, takes time, unless you're certain teams. And I feel like Arsenal's a little bit ahead of United in that regard. So, but you never know. See what happens. I fully expect Arsenal to be able to get a result in that match. But, this is around the time last season where United started to kind of click, started to see things fall into place, where Ten Hag's, magic started to take place. But, injuries are definitely a problem. We've got Varane out. We've got Luke Shaw, Tyler Malacia out. We've had to bring in Sergio Reguilon from Spurs in on loan to like patch up left back. So you're looking at potentially Martinez and either Lindelof or Maguire starting as a center back pairing. Not ideal. Left back from Spurs that they didn't even want coming in to maybe be your starting left back. It's just the injuries is not ideal with like, hoping the new players coming in, getting integrated quickly is not ideal. So it's a rough spot to be playing a team like Arsenal. If you're Manchester United, I would fully expect Arsenal to be able to, get a result there. But, Ten Hag's he's had some tricks up his sleeve. He's pulled some things out in these kind of key matches against the big teams in the past. So we'll see what happens there. Big weekend for professional wrestling as well. 2 huge shows this weekend. We've got WWE Payback on Saturday tomorrow, and then we've got AEW All Out Sunday. Crazy. I really think it's going to be looked back as a huge mistake that AEW ran 2 pay-per-views in 2 weekends back to back. They've already announced they're going to do it again next year, but there's definitely been some hints, some rumors that next year it might be a max streaming thing as opposed to like traditional pay-per-view. So maybe there's more of an affordable option there. I don't know. Time will tell there, but I think it's going to be a huge mistake, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Like I want to talk about Payback first because it's the first show of the weekend. It's tomorrow, and it's kind of like if AEW eventually gets to set their shows up the way WWE is right now, you can kind of have these random once a month shows that don't have that necessarily like big of matches on them. Because like Payback, not a whole lot jumps out on this card as being like, oh my gosh, can't wait to see this. It's going to be exciting. There's a lot of stuff I'm sure that'll be good, but it's like, I'm not going to be sad that I'm not going to watch it live tomorrow. So we got listed matches. Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, steel cage match. It's been going on a while. It seems like maybe a little bit too long, honestly, but Trish Stratus, all-time legend. Becky Lynch, one of the best women's wrestlers in the world right now, so I'm sure they'll do a good show there. Got to think Becky Lynch wins there because, unless they're like wanting, I don't. It's weird. Like Trish Stratus, I thought she was just kind of back for WrestleMania for a special spot there, but she's kind of hung around, kind of stuck around. So I don't know. Maybe she wins there and she's sticking around, and getting more involved. But I think Becky wins there just because she's definitely due to get back into the main event picture in terms of the women's division. Tag team title match: Steel City Street Fight for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. Owens and Zayn versus the Judgment Day. Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Definitely seems like you're going towards a split between Balor and Priest. That version of the Judgment Day seems to be falling apart. So you would think they wouldn't win here unless you want to put the belts on them and have them like still be the champions as they fall apart. That's something we've seen before in wrestling. Could happen again. But I think the Owens and Zayn team has, held pretty strong. Both Owens and Zayn have dealt with some injuries recently, and they haven't taken the belts off them in that period. So it seems like if they were in a hurry to get the belts off of them, they would have maybe done it while they were both injured. But that would also lead me to believe they win and retain here. Singles match for the Women's World Championship: Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez. I have a hard time seeing Rhea Ripley losing until she has like a really, really big match some point in time, because she's been like one of the most over performers in the whole business right now. But it would be a good way to start Raquel Rodriguez because, you can tell they definitely have some hope in her. They definitely have some faith in her, but she's been kind of stop-start with her pushes, thrown into some tag teams, thrown here and there. Giving her a big win over Rhea would certainly strap the rocket to her and give her a chance to be one of their big stars, but I don't see that happening. I think Rhea retains. Rey Mysterio defends the United States Championship against Austin Theory. No idea what happens there. I mean, I was surprised that Rey beat Austin Theory for the belt to begin with, because I thought they were setting up something longer with Austin Theory. Like a lot of people thought, LA Knight might be the person to eventually dethrone him. So maybe there's been speculation that maybe members of the LWO would turn on Rey and cost him the match and set up other feuds there. Kind of think Austin Theory needs the belt back. I mean, he certainly needs to be a champion more than Rey Mysterio needs it at this point in his career. So I'd probably put the belt back on Austin Theory there. LA Knight versus The Miz singles match. They've had some really good promos here, but these are two guys who are LA Knight's like the hot thing right now. Everybody's like really excited about LA Knight. But to me, he's like it's weird that they're feuding and they've done like parodies of each other. He's definitely like a little bit, just like a slightly better version of The Miz, where he's like, I don't know. I'm not all in on the LA Knight train like a lot of people are. I think he's very like I said, I think he's very similar to the Miz, where he's great on the mic, does great promos, but like don't necessarily ever care about his matches. Like I know a lot of people wanted him to win Money in the Bank. I didn't really care. Like I said, I know a lot of people were hoping he would be the one to knock off Austin Theory for the U.S. title. I didn't necessarily care about that either. Great promo, entertaining guy, but for me, he's just, I don't know, there's something he's missing. There's something that's not quite there for me for him to be like a really top next level guy. Once again, very similar to the Miz, but in this case, I think he beats the Miz because, you know, he's the hot guy on the rise now, so it certainly would make more sense for him to win that match. Seth frickin' Rollins defends the World Heavyweight Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura. I don't think there's any chance Shinsuke Nakamura wins this one. I think it's 100% sure that Seth Rollins retains. They're, you know, I don't know what's going on with that World Heavyweight Championship. It's seemed, you know, kind of fake and stupid when they initiated it. Rollins has done a good job with it, kind of giving it some credibility, but I mean, it feels like you almost got to keep the belt on him for a while to really fully establish it. You can't take it off him. Like I could see you making the case that Finn Balor, when they had their feud, giving it to Finn Balor because Judgment Day and Finn Balor were so hot. But if you weren't going to put it on Finn Balor, it certainly doesn't make much sense to put it on Shinsuke Nakamura at this point in time. So I think Seth Rollins retains there. Richard Greenberg in the chat, but Uncle Mad just got home from watching The Equalizer 3. Denzel is awesome. You know what? The Equalizer series is one of those that I just missed the ball on. Like I've always heard like all of them are awesome. It's kind of like, but just one of the ones I've missed. It's one of those ones where you say like, I'm John Wick's the same way. Like I was always like, oh, I got to go back and watch all the John Wick movies. I got to go back and watch the Equalizer movies. But it's like once, you know, you've missed one and suddenly there's two, suddenly there's three, suddenly there's four. It becomes like it gets stacked up more and more where it's like harder and harder to be like, oh crap, I got to get caught up on these. But like Equalizer, John Wick are on like this list of movies that I'm like, I have to catch up on all those at some point in time. Have to catch up on them. But embarrassingly, both of those series are ones I just missed the ball on. Yeah. But the other big wrestling show this weekend, AEW All Out. Like I said earlier, I think this is going to end up being a huge mistake to run pay-per-views back to back. Financially, I think it's going to work out really well for AEW because I think, you know, All In last week in London was huge financial success for them, so they can probably afford to take a little bit of a loss on All Out not being as big as it usually is, this Labor Day weekend pay-per-view that they've run since like pretty much day one. But just looking at the card, it's like almost like, and I know there's issues that arose with the card because CM Punk had another backstage issue, this time with Jack Perry, where now he's back in limbo, is he going to come back? Is he really going to keep going mode? So certainly there's like been reports that he was supposed to main event All Out. He was supposed to face, you know, Ricky Starks for the quote unquote real AEW World Heavyweight Championship. But even that, like when I heard that, I was like, is that really the main event that's going to make me buy a second pay-per-view in 2 weeks? No, I really would not have. That would not have made me want to spend another, you know, $50 on another AEW pay-per-view. And the card as is doesn't either. I mean, this is like, honestly, this is like a real weird, like borderline house show level match. Like a lot, like these matches are all going to be good. These are all like really good performers. I'm sure it's going to be really entertaining. Every AEW pay-per-view has been entertaining. There's been good matches all over them, but like in terms of like getting people to actually spend money, actually buy this pay-per-view, this one is by far the worst on paper they've ever done. So we've got Luchasaurus singles match for the AEW TNT Championship, defends against Darby Allin. Darby Allin's always been a dude who really tried to promote the AEW TNT Championship. When he's had it, he's tried to make it a big deal. The Luchasaurus Christian Cage kind of thing's been kind of weird, where like Luchasaurus is the champion, but Christian always has the belt, always carries it out, and always treats himself like he's the champion. That's been like at least a story that they've been doing something with. So it would seem like too early to cut that off, but at the same time, like Darby Allin always wins the TNT Championship when he challenges for it. So could see Darby winning, and that leads to a split for Luchasaurus and Christian Cage, and then they feud. Miro versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Like this is like not a pay-per-view match at all. Like this is very, very weird. Very, very weird. But they had to fill out the card, so they took a lot of people that didn't wrestle on All In and put them together here. It's hard to say because it feels like they tried to restart Miro when Collision came around, but like that kind of has fizzled out. And Hobbs, they gave him a run. Like he was a TNT champion for a while. The team championship is like almost like a curse. Like seems like they put it on people to like to elevate them and get them over, and then like they lose it like 2 weeks later and they get forgotten about. Like Wardlow. Where's Wardlow? What happened to Wardlow? Wardlow was supposed to be like the next Goldberg, and he won the TNT championship once, lost it like 2 weeks later, came back, won it again, lost it like 3 weeks later, and now he's just disappeared forever. Richard says, big Man U versus Arsenal game on Sunday. Yeah, I talked about that a little bit before you jumped in. So I said, I think with all the changes United have going on with the new players coming in, with the injuries they have, it's going to be tough for United in that one. I think Arsenal's seems like they're probably about a year ahead of their sort of squad build, squad rebuild, if you want to say, so tough spot for United in that one. I thought they looked better second half against Forest, doing more of the things that we saw them do last year, but once again, so many injuries. Varane, Luke Shaw, Malacia, Mason Mount. It's going to be a tough one for United on Sunday. I'll be watching it. I'll be somewhere watching it Sunday. So, hoping for the best. Back to AEW All Out. Chris Statlander versus Ruby Soho singles match for the AEW TBS Championship. I mean, it feels like don't take the belt off Chris Statlander. You gave her the big rub of her being the one that finally beat embarrassingly can't remember, Jade Cargill. But Ruby Soho, they've got all the things that are going out the Outcast now, so it could be further building that storyline where like the Outcast accidentally cost Ruby Soho the match. Who knows? I would be shocked if Statlander doesn't retain there. Orange Cassidy defends the AEW International Championship against Jon Moxley. I mean, this has been a huge storyline, one of the better ones they've done for a while with Cassidy and defending the title like week in, week out. They've slowly been building up that he's more and more beat up, having a hard time to, continue to defend the title. So like Moxley, the brutal brawler, seems like the perfect guy to finally be the one who takes advantage of all his injuries, all the brutal beatings he's taken, and win the belt here. And Moxley's a good guy to get that belt and kind of take it even higher than what Cassidy's done. So probably wins there. Omega versus I might mess it up. Omega versus Takeshita singles match coming off their match. This is probably maybe the best match on the show. First time Kenny Omega's had a big pay-per-view singles match in a long time. Takeshita is one of like the hottest rising young stars there is. Feel like Takeshita probably should get the win there to keep elevating him, keep him going, but you never know. You never know what you're going to see there. So I don't know. Like I said, this whole card is so weird. Bullet Club Gold. Like, I don't even want to go through the whole thing because like there's not like really. Yeah, I'm not going to go through the rest of it because it really feels like a house show or like a Dynamite type show. It doesn't feel like something that like you're trying to get like people to spend $50 to buy. And they still have one more show, Collision, tomorrow night to set up maybe more matches, something else. So I don't know. Right now, it's a very weak, not interesting lineup. Definitely feels skippable to me. And for the most part, I've not felt that way about many AEW pay-per-views. I think I've either bought or gone to a friend's house to watch every single one. And this one, I'm not really up for it. Really enjoyed your live watch along for the Nashville Inter Miami match. I did watch it delayed. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, that's something I would do more of, but a lot of times, I've got the season tickets for Nashville SC, so I'm always at the matches when they're home matches. And a lot of times my friends and I, like, when it's an away match, we'll go to like a local bar or a local restaurant that's going to show the game to watch it there. So like Wednesday night, it's not a night you go out to the bars and restaurants like you normally would. So it was a good night to just like, turn the camera on, throw it on and do a watch along. And people got to see my absolute insane reactions to how upset I was over the multiple fouls Sergio Busquets got away with only one yellow card throughout the match. So I'm sure that was very entertaining to the people who watched that to see how angry and get to see where the mad in my name comes from in that regard, I guess. But and Richard also says your microphone sounds great tonight. Yeah, I'm running everything through my Mac today. Like the previous live streams the last couple of weeks, I've done like a stream through my camera because I like my iPhone. I've like done a live stream using my iPhone because I like the video quality better on my iPhone. But for whatever reason, the hookup I have to connect my microphone to my iPhone just for whatever reason didn't seem to work. Like it seemed like it worked for a couple weeks and then it didn't. I don't know. I'm not tech savvy enough to really understand how any of this works, but I'm glad to hear it's working this week. Trying to think. All right, so wrestling, United, Nashville SC. Football starting. I mean, college football is going on tonight. First, full day of college football tomorrow. NFL's right around the corner Thursday. I feel weirdly like I'm the most disconnected from regular American football this season that I've been borderline ever. And I don't know if it's because I'm more engaged with Nashville SC, or if it's just been that just my schedule and the stuff I've been doing has kept me away from football more. Tennessee Titans, our local home team here for American football, NFL, we only had one home preseason match, which was kind of surprising because I feel like every year since the NFL switched from 4 preseason games, 16 regular season games to 3 preseason games, 17 regular season games, Titans have always only had 1 preseason out of the 3 games at home, which is weird. And I thought we would have got 2 this year because we technically are losing a home game because we're playing in London against the Ravens, and that's a designated home game for us, but it's in London, which I think I'm going to be there. So I'll be there for the home team. But I thought we'd get the extra preseason game since we lost the regular season home game, but we didn't. The one time we had the home game, I went to the Newfound Glory concert same night. So it all kind of worked out to where I just haven't seen the Titans barely at all because one of the other preseason games, DirecTV isn't carrying ABC right now, so we didn't get to see it because that's what the channel the preseason games come on here locally. It's been weird. I feel like I've barely got to see any Titans preseason stuff. I've followed along as best I can through the Twitter accounts and journalists that I know that cover it, but I don't know. I feel really disconnected from NFL and college football this season. College football, I know nothing. I know Georgia's probably going to be good. Alabama will probably be decent. I've heard a lot of people say Florida State and Texas might be back. I don't know. Very disconnected from all those. So I've got some bets. I'll read off the bets I've got, and none of these are my bets. So I don't have nearly enough knowledge to be picking bets and choosing my own selections. But I follow a couple people that I really like their way they pick, like the way they select games. Matt Peralt, Alan Bell are 2 of the big ones that I follow. I pretty much follow any bet they place. Those are my 2 main guys. So look them up if you want to, follow along with what I bet. So here's what I've got for tomorrow, first college football Saturday, kind of the season. I'm just going to read through what I've got bet right now. Tennessee, UT over 18.5 team total for the second half. So, expecting that to be a complete blowout and just for them to continue to pour it on Virginia throughout the match. MTSU, Alabama over 51.5. I mean, that's just basically banking on the fact that Alabama is just going to stomp on MTSU and just not let up. Wisconsin minus 27 over Buffalo. No idea there. A lot of people seem to like Wisconsin this season because they got the new coach and Luke Fickell, but 27-point favorite, Wisconsin, sure. Somebody gave that out and I took it. Texas Tech minus 14 over Wyoming. I think I got that from, where did that one come from? I think it was Tom Fernelli on a podcast. I think he was dead set that was going to be just a blowout and that 14 was a easy spread to take. So that one's that. What else we got? Crap, I think I bet Wisconsin twice. Hope that one comes through. UMass plus 36.5 against Auburn. I think that was maybe an overreaction to them UMass winning last week, but Auburn, I don't know. I'm confused by what Auburn's doing. They were borderline nipping at the heels of Alabama and LSU in the SEC West, and they kind of just went off a cliff. But I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's all I got. What do I got for the rest of the weekend? Because we got Sunday games. Sunday, I've got FSU over 13.5 first half. Rutgers minus 6.5 over Northwest. I mean, Northwest is terrible. That. If you can't beat Northwest by more than 6.5, you should be embarrassed. Monday night, Clemson over 16.5 second half team total. Once again, not my picks. Follow those from everybody. Those are picks I've picked up from other people. I'm sure that I'll get some more over the weekend, but that's where I'm at right now. So it'll be interesting. I think I'm going to be on a boat most of the day tomorrow, so I probably won't even watch half these games, which is a good time. It's good to have a lot of bets almost when you're not going to be able to watch the games, and then you just come back and are oh, hey, I lost everything, but at least I didn't have to watch and suffer through it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Let's see. Richard Greenberg said, I got a free college bet on Tennessee game. They have to win plus 22. And he said minus 22. I don't know anything about college football. That's probably a good one right there. I mean, I think most people expect Tennessee is going to be a high scoring team this year and that Virginia's not very good. So I minus 20. Let's see. I want to see what the actual spread of the game is because that feels like a nice boosted number. If that's, I think most people think Tennessee should probably comfortably defeat Virginia there. So you might be in a good spot there. Let me see what the actual spread is at the moment. Yeah, the live spread that I'm seeing right now on DraftKings is Tennessee minus 28. So you're 6 points to the good off what's available online right now. So you're in a pretty good spot right there, I would say. Yeah, I hate Tennessee, though. I hate Tennessee. I'm a Vandy fan. I don't know how much I've talked about that on the channel, but long-suffering Vandy fan who hates UT as a result of it. They've made my life heck for a very long time. Although the last 10, 15 years, we've kind of gone back and forth with them a little bit, but it's been nice to see them suffer for the last few years and for Vandy to get a few wins here and there over them. But, I always consider myself as a Vandy fan, like Roger Bennett of the Men in Blazers always shares this quote that British people would rather see their enemies suffer than see themselves be successful. And that's how I feel as a Vandy fan. Like Vandy could go 0-12, but if UT loses like a heartbreaking game, that's a successful season for me in my book because I accept Vandy is a lesser than program. So I want to see my rival suffer. I want to see my rival fail. That's just me. I'm just a miserable person in that regard. All right. Don't think I have anything else to chat about tonight. We've gone through a lot of stuff, just kind of rambling, shooting from the hip like we do on Friday nights. Appreciate if you watched live. Appreciate if you're watching this on a replay. Either way, I hope you subscribe to the channel with the bell turned on for notifications so that you always see any future updates that we have here on the channel because we are continuing to attempt to finish out the year with daily updates. Next week, I'm going to go out and say it. Next week, first week in a while where I'm looking at it and going, I don't know what we're going to do because there might be some drop off. There might be some. There's not a whole lot going on. We've got the Nashville SC game tomorrow night, which we'll get a vlog from. But that's kind of the in the summer blues. There's just not a whole lot going on, and we're gonna have to find and struggle through to get the content coming. So, cookie reviews probably coming. Maybe we'll bring back a lunch break sandwich review. Haven't done one of those in a long time. I don't know. We'll figure something out to make sure we get some content out every day. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel with the bell turned on for notifications. Thank you as always. My words are getting tied up. We'll see you in the next one.